Welcome back, painting friends. Today we are going to paint a request I had of a side view of a witch and a cat. So colors you're going to need, pretty simple: pink, purple, black, yellow, and white. I always have my favorite four brushes: my 1-inch flat brush, my 10, 6, and 1 round brush. Don't forget to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping those brushes clean. And remember, if you like what you're seeing today, make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you are kept up to date on all of my tutorials. So let us get started. I'm going to start off by adding pink paint to most of my canvas. So big section up here in the top right corner. Oh, look, I got a little paint booger. Sometimes that happens. I don't use pink a whole lot, and so sometimes there's a little bit of dried paint in it. So we got to pull those out. But this whole top right corner, I'm just going to fill in with some pink paint. From there, I don't have to wash my brush off at all, but I can start to grab a little bit of purple paint and just kind of blend it in. And then everything else on this side is going to be purple. Now, here's the fun part. I'm going to use my 1-inch flat brush, but you can always switch to a round brush. And I'm going to take some white paint and some pink paint, and I'm just going to kind of start making some curly, swirly lines. And these lines can kind of go any direction they want, but we want to give our sky some texture. So with that pink and white on my brush, I'm just kind of making some texture in my sky. Now, as we pull this over towards the purple, we're going to start our blending phase. And with that, my purple and my pink are going to start to just gently blend a little bit. And then we're going to take this white, continue it over into that purple area. I'm going to wash my brush off really well. And then this is the part that you really kind of want to pay attention to. So you want to blend this so that it looks like a seamless transition. So I only put white paint on my brush, but I'm going to just drop a couple spots of white paint in here, and I'm going to pull these colors up very carefully so that more of that purple gets into that pink, but it's not too terribly aggressive. And then we're going to go the opposite direction and pull some of that purple down, some of that white and pink down into that purple. And you're just going to kind of mess with this a little bit until you get it to where you like it. I think I'm where I like it. So now it's time to let this dry. When we come back in, we're going to add in all of those fun details. With a dry background, I'm now going to take a cup. Okay, this is just one of my water cups, and set it up where I want my moon to be. And I'm just going to trace that circle. Now I know you guys can't see it, but I can see it just barely, and it's perfect. And so what I'm going to do now is, with my number 6 round brush, I'm going to take a little bit of white paint with some of that purple and pink mixed in. So it's just a little hint of purple and pink. And I'm going to trace that circle, most of it. Now, when I almost close the circle, I want to use the most skinny line I could possibly make with my brush, okay? From there, I am going to thicken up this back side right here. I just added a little bit of water to my paint just to make it a little smoother to go on the canvas. And then here's the fun part. With that same brush, I'm just going to add water to my brush and tap some of that paint off. And I'm just going to kind of start bringing some of that color out a little bit. I think I've got a little bit too much water on there still. And I'm just going to tap those colors out towards this edge right here. So I want it to look as though it's kind of disappearing. And so adding the water to your brush really helps you with that look of disappearing. So just a little bit of water, and I'm just going to start to tap these colors towards this skinniest point of my circle. Now this is where that yellow comes in. It's the only time we're going to use that yellow. You don't really need a whole lot of it, but I'm going to add a little bit of water to my yellow, a little bit of white to my yellow, and I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow in this moon. A little bit of water, a little bit of white. If you wanted to add a little bit of that pink or purple in there too, this is a good time to do it. Just be careful, purple and yellow, they don't get along so well when they're mixing. They turn into a brown color. You don't want a brown moon, so make sure you're kind of mindful about where you drop those purples and yellows. Now around our moon, we're going to add some fun little stars as well as just some kind of misty moonshine. So to do that, what I'm going to do is take the back of my brush and I'm going to start off by just adding a couple of dots around my moon. And these are going to be my stars. I don't want to really cover my whole sky in it. I kind of want it to just be like this aura around the moon. After those are on there, I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to kind of tap those so they get a little blurry on the edges. I'm going back over just to make sure they're circle-ish shaped. If I see one that's not really circle, I'm just going back and adding a little bit more to it to keep it as circle as I can. From there, I'm going to go back in with that number 6 round brush and that really watered down paint. And I'm just going to make some swirls around some of these. So they do not all need swirls, and I don't want all of my swirls going the same direction. So make sure as you do this, you take some of those swirls and you go opposite directions with them. And the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a really watered down white color. So a lot of water. It's almost like I'm making a watercolor. And then I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to add some of those dots that I did in my moon, just kind of going around this area. So I don't really need it to fill any space in. I just want to give it that look of a moon glow coming off of that moon. All right, we're going to let this dry, and when we come back, we're going to add in that ground, our witch, and all of our other details. With a dry background, we're not going to go in and lay in our ground, our tree, our witch, our cat, all of the fun stuff. So I've got my number 6 round brush, and all I'm going to do is take a little bit of black paint, and I'm just going to make my ground. So I'm going to make just kind of a wavy ground down here on the bottom. And everything below that, I could just go ahead and paint in black. From there, I'm going to switch over to my number 6 round brush, and I'm going to use some black paint, some watered down black paint. I'm going to make my tree, and I want to be really mindful where I put my tree because I don't want to cover up too much of my moon. But I'm just going to make some of my branches kind of start out here, and this is going to be an old haunted tree, so it's going to be a little wrinkly and wavy as we bring it down. A lot of times my trees start as the letter Y, and even when you're making an old creaky tree, it could still start as a letter Y. And then all you have to do is just continue making little Ys in these wavy lines. I love that. Now, it's up to you if you want to turn this into a cemetery or not. If you do want to turn it into a cemetery, it's pretty easy to do. All you have to do is add a couple of shapes. So you could just use an upside down letter U, and all of a sudden, boom, you got yourself a little gravesite, right? And you can make those, you can make a couple of these, and they might even have like a little cross on the top of them, right? So add a couple of little grave sites if you want. You don't have to. Just one of those fun little additional things. Now I'm going to zoom us in to this corner right here where we are going to add in our witch and our black cat. Anytime I add details, I do want to water my black paint down just a little bit. So I'm just adding some water to kind of thin it out. I'm going to lay my cat first, okay? So right down here next to these gravestones, I'm just going to start off with a circle head. And then, of course, 2 little pointy black ears. From there, the chest of my cat is going to kind of come out, and then it disappears onto my ground. And the back of my cat is just going to kind of come down, and I'm going to add a little bump. And then I'm going to add a curve on the top for that tail. And everything under there can be painted in black. And I'm going to thicken that tail up a little bit. But there's our cute little cat. Now, if you are detailed enough, you can even add a couple little cat whiskers on here. Super fine, super gentle little lines. You can always do this later with a Sharpie if you want to. Now, as for my witch, she's going to be quite a bit taller. I'm going to start with the bottom of her dress so I can kind of portion her out a little bit better. So just above where my gravestones are, I'm just going to add a straight line. This is going to be her waist. So from there, you're talking just, a black dress. So I'm just going to kind of bring it down. The back part, though, I'm going to bring down. It's going to have a small train to it. Now, both my cat and my witch are going to be staring at that moon. So from the belly point of her, I'm going to have her kind of just go out a little bit wider at the top. And then I'm going to make 2 angled lines here. These are going to be her hands. From there, I can add her shoulders in, which are just going to be a small curved line up. And then I'm going to make a nice big circle. And then the top of the hat, I'm going to make it a tall, skinny top to my witch's hat. Now, as I have us zoomed in, we're also going to add in our little highlights. So I'm going to take a little bit of white paint on my number 6 round brush. And any place where I think there might be a highlight from that moon, I'm just going to add a small little line. So on the top of my gravestones, just small little white lines. That could even be on the brim of her hat, which is going to be going right around this way. That could even be on this front side of the hat. We got to imagine that that front side of the hat's actually going to come down to about there. As I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I'm finished, this is why I always just kind of like to look at my paintings before I call it done, because I think I'm going to add part of a tree over here. I'm not going to be able to see the whole thing, but I will be able to see these gnarly branches. So I'm going to imagine that there's another tree that my witch is standing under. And I can add all of these gnarly branches on there just to kind of fill up that top space right here. I just keep thinking of all the things we can add to this. You know, like we can drop a little spider coming down from the tree. We could add a pumpkin over there. I mean, there's so many things when you think about fun little Halloween pictures that you could add. So I'm going to add my highlights on this tree, and then I think we can probably call this painting finished. I'm so happy I added that extra tree in there. I love it. Now remember, if you've ever painted with me before, I never get to see what you're painting at home unless you post it to my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.